Let's bring in former CIA officer and FBI special agent Tracy Walder. Tracy, thank you so much for being with us. So we've learned that the shooter, who was in his 20s, was an employee of this bank. He was apparently live streaming this incident on social media. That is just horrific to think about. What does that tell you, though, about possible motivation or maybe the mindset of the shooter?
Well, thank you for having me, Nicole. I think what that tells me is that he wanted attention and that he wanted to be heard. One of the things that I saw in terms of an Instagram, one of the last Instagram posts that he had up was, they won't listen to words or protests, so I'll see if they'll hear this. And so I think him live streaming that was his way, although be it incredibly sick, to be heard. We also saw that, in the case of the Buffalo shooter, he also live streamed this as well. So I'm sure that they are scrambling to take that down. But I do think he was trying to be heard in his extremely sick and twisted way.
Yeah, absolutely sick and twisted. So let's focus on the fact that the shooter was an employee of the bank. How does that impact a situation like this, Tracy, when the shooter, is not going into a place that he's not familiar or he's unfamiliar with? He has prior and assumably, vast knowledge of this location.
I think that that's an excellent question, Nicole. I think how he gained entry into this bank is going to be what's critical here. Did he make what we call dynamic entry into that bank, meaning running in, guns blazing, initial shots? Or did the bank employees let him in because they were used to him being there? So I think that's going to be very critical. Also, it could be critical in that he may have been able to get quite a ways into the bank because he was known to everyone there. And also, he knew where sort of the places were to find the most amount of people. So I think the fact that he is or was an employee there is very critical. And I would be very interested to know how he made entry.
Another thing that stood out to me from the most recent update, we heard the police chief saying she would only say the shooter's name that one time. That's when she confirmed his identity. We hear so many times about the importance of not making these shooters famous. As you said, you suspect he wanted attention. What was your reaction to that piece of the update from the police chief?
I mean, in short, my reaction was bravo, amazing work on behalf of the police chief for doing that. I think, just like you stated, Nicole, this is an individual who wanted attention. And I think by saying his name over and over again, we are giving him that attention that he wants. And you know what, to put it quite frankly, he doesn't deserve that. The people who deserve to have their names remembered are the victims of his crime. And he deserves to be forgotten, really, at this point. And so I really commend her for doing that. I commend the entirety of LMPD. Really, they did an incredible job.
Yeah, absolutely. And we following that lead as well from the police chief. Tracy, last question for you. Talk to us about the next phase of this investigation.
So I think the next phase of this investigation is really going to be they're going to probably be doing work with the FBI's behavioral analysis unit, kind of looking into, I understand that he's no longer with us and no longer a threat, but trying to understand where did this motivation come from? Because it is important to understand people's motivations for committing these crimes, because it's one way that we can work towards stopping it amongst a multitude of others. And so I think that's one thing they're going to be going into: his social media posts, any manifestos that he made, any contact that he had with other people, any contact that he may have had with any of the victims. Those are sort of the things that the FBI is going to be working along with LMPD to sort of flesh out at this point.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.